The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
So yesterday afternoon, Nancy Pelosi finally did the thing everybody's been wanting her to do and announced that the House of Representatives will be starting a formal impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump, specifically targeting his actions with the Ukraine phone call. But there were more interesting developments than just Pelosi coming out and announcing this, and one of them came from Pelosi herself, mentioning the fact that she had a phone call with Donald Trump while he was, I guess, on a break at his little UN General Assembly, and he made a phone call to Pelosi where, according to sources, he allegedly offered to kind of work on one of Pelosi's pet issues, specifically gun control, is what Pelosi mentioned. And all she had to do was kind of work with him on this whole whistleblower complaint thing. She said it was a very interesting conversation.
Welcome to the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. It's a beautiful Sunday out here today, and there's a lot of things moving out here in politics that's very troubling, people. It doesn't happen. The man is about to be impeached. You know, we living in comic book era times, people. You know, Donald Trump the Joker, Rudy Giuliani the Penguin, you know, and Nancy Pelosi, you know, she's Batgirl. You know, this is getting crazy, people. But it's been crazy town, as I've already told you. Now, I want to get to the Masonic journals first. I want to get that out the way because we have a big show here today. I have the whistleblower complaint, and I have it all right here, people. You know, this is that TV show that we've all seen before. World's Most Dumbest Criminals. It's happening. You know, World's Most Dumbest Criminals had just hit the White House. You know, but we're going to get into that in just a second. But first, let me get to the Masonic journals. We had a masquerade ball last night. It was a good thing. I've seen some of the pictures of it. I wasn't able to attend. I had a prior engagement that I had to attend to. But the masquerade ball, they said it was nice. It was jumping. You know, and they're going to do it again every year. These ladies throw a good party, like I said, and all you got to do is go to your Facebook pages. If any of you connected to me on Facebook, go to your Facebook pages and you'll see some pictures of it. I might even try to post some pictures of it, of the event on my page. But November 9th, the Brothers of the Rod, my brothers, the Brothers of the Rod, are throwing a blue jeans and blazer party. And it's going down Nashville. It's going to be at Panobi's, and I'm going to be doing my commercial on it later on in the program. And any of you that in the Masonic community, whether you're brother or sister, that wants to send me some of your charity events, fundraisers, parties, book bag giveaways, work at the VA, whatever you're doing out there, if you want to send me the event, you can go to masonicjournal@gmail.com. Again, that's masonicjournal@gmail.com. And you can send me all the pertinent information. I'm going to look into it. It'll take me about a day to confirm everything. And then I'll make you a commercial on it and post it on my show. Again, that's masonicjournal@gmail.com. Now, that's the Masonic Journal for today. Now, let me get into... First of all, I want to say that my show this week was going to be on the UAW and the strike that's going on with GM and the workers union. But I had to scrap that show. I'm gonna do that show next week, next Sunday. I got a phone number here to the leader of the Union Party down in Columbia, Tennessee. And they're on strike down there. If any of you in Columbia, you know, blow your horn at them people. Let them know that you listen to my show and that you're in support of them, and stop through there and talk to them. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know too much about it, ask them about it. They have some real problems going on with the situation of the money, the insurance, and things of that nature. But I'm gonna touch on that next week. I'm gonna touch on the whole strike and the UAW strike that's going on, because it's not just one strike, people. That's what most people thinking. It's just one strike. It's the General Motors and UAW workers, but it's also the janitors and the maintenance men. Also, they're on strike because it's a lot of issues going on with that. But I'm gonna get into that next week. But before I get into the whole whistleblower complaint, I think it's necessary for you to understand the history behind this. Okay, it's a deep history behind the United States, Russia, and Ukraine. Okay, the USSR. The USSR was basically almost like America. They were a bunch of states or separate countries put together like states. And in 91 through 96, they started dissolving, going their own separate way. The reason why is because Mikhail Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan, they became, I'm not going to say they were friends, but put it this way, the presidents before Vladimir Putin, they liked the way that America conducted its business. They liked it, capitalism. They liked it, the freedom aspect of it. But Russia has never always been that. And I know some of you are thinking, why am I talking about Russia and the USSR and giving you a brief history synopsis on what's going on with the whole Russia, Ukraine, and the United States and Donald Trump? It all ties together. Most of us, especially people in the hood that listen to my show, because my show is basically empowerment in the minority communities. This is not a major news program. This is a small podcast in Middle Tennessee, and I give you, things that help you in the minority communities around Middle Tennessee, things that can uplift you and positive information. But also, I gotta touch on important news and facts. And part of that is I have to educate you on this history, because once I always break it down for you and give you an approach from the history aspect of it, because then you can see finally why I've always said Donald Trump is a Russian plant. He's a Russian stooge. And it's starting to come home. The chickens are starting to come home to roost. This guy's a straight up comic book character, straight out of DC Comics. For those of you comic book fans out there who watch Detective Comics, Batman and the Joker and the Penguin and things of that nature. This guy's a straight up comic book character, but he's dangerous. Don't get it twisted. He might be a comic book character, but he's dangerous. Now, I've already given you the history of the bigotry in this country, starting from the Civil War. Now, I got to, like I always told you also, not only is he a Russian stooge, a Russian plant, but Donald Trump is not a part of the Dixie down south Democrat / Republican races. He's a bigot, he's a racist, but he's not a part of that old school rebel flag waving races. Okay, his father come here from Germany. Not his father, but his grandfather came here from Germany. And we all know the history of Germans. You know, they were some of the bigoted, racist people on the planet. They wanted to start a race of blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, and they invaded Russia and places of that nature. So let me get into this history real quick. Because this is some stuff that my people that follow my show gotta understand to connect the dots. Okay, number one. During the German War, when Adolf Hitler was on his campaign to invade Europe, America nearly stayed out of it. Russia and the USSR got invaded. Germany was slowly taking over most of Europe and parts of the country of Russia. Ukraine was one of those countries that's a part of Russia. Now, remember what I said. Russia was a country just like the United States, made of small states, smaller countries that consider themselves states. Now, I want you to put this in the context of America. America has Texas, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Florida. America has states that are basically have their own governments. And that's exactly how Russia was. Russia, the USSR, was a country built around smaller countries. And they all contributed to one army. So when Germany invaded Russia and we Americans stepped in, Russia became our allies temporarily. After Germany was defeated, a lot of the scientists that was helping the German cause, forcibly, mind you, some of them came to America, some of them went to Europe, and these are the men and women who invented the atomic bomb. So once the atomic bomb was invented, basically Russia became our enemy because they wanted it too. They wanted to have the power of an atomic devastating bomb just like America. So, like I said, we were allies with Russia temporarily. Russia has never been a good country. They've always had oppression of their people. But we temporarily was allies with them against Germany. So once the Germans were defeated and these nuclear warheads and nuclear atomic bombs started being made, it was a nuclear arms race. Okay. Now I'm finna jump forward a few decades. I'm finna jump forward. Okay. By the time Ronald Reagan became president, remember what I talked to you about Ronald Reagan being the first Dixie Democrat type Republican who was the one who was pushing racist Republican agendas. That's why they talk so highly about Ronald Reagan. So even though Ronald Reagan was bigoted, him and his administration, they still was about America. They still believed in the Constitution of America. Even though they believed it's meant for white people, they still believed that the Constitution separates ourselves from other countries. So Russia wanted to be a part of that. Russia wanted to be a part of the whole capitalist worldwide community. So in order for them to be a part of that, the individual countries inside of Russia had to separate because it was too much oppression, too many killing of journalists, enslaved camps and things of that nature, enslavement camps and things of that nature. So when Russia broke apart around 91 through 96, Russia started slowly breaking apart. Ukraine was one of the countries that broke away from Russia and started dealing with the United States. Russia got mad. They didn't like that. Okay, Russia got mad. They didn't like the fact that Ukraine was trying to be a part of NATO. Okay, so we got to understand the history behind this to understand how we got to where we are today with this Russian plant in the White House. So once Russia figured out that all of these countries that was leaving the USSR, breaking off, becoming their own country again, I'm gonna put it to you like this: Texas is a big enough state to become its own country. So just imagine if Texas, I'm going to break this down for all my people who like for me to break it down to you. Imagine Texas breaking off from the United States and start doing business with Mexico. That's basically what happened with Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine became its own government, its own state, and they had nuclear bombs. So what wound up happening is America told Ukraine, in order for us to do business with you, you got to get rid of those nuclear warheads. And they did that. So, like I said, imagine Texas breaking off from the United States, having their own president, their own government, and start doing business with Mexico. That's basically the situation that Russia was in with Ukraine. So what happened was when Obama became president, Obama never did like Vladimir Putin. Most presidents don't like Vladimir Putin because Vladimir Putin used to be a KGB. Now, KGB is the opposite of the CIA. That's the Russian version of the spy network. That's the Russian version of spies. So before Vladimir Putin became president, he was basically a Russian spy agent head. Okay. He invaded a part of Crimea, a part of Ukraine called Crimea, because Crimea has a port that's very easy for Russian ships to get in and out. It was a strategic move. Okay, it was a strategic move by Russia. They invaded Crimea, took it over, and Crimea was a part of Ukraine. So when they invaded Crimea, of course, we already had wars being fought over in Iraq and Afghanistan and things of that nature. So Obama really couldn't do nothing about it. And besides, even if he did try to do something about it, Russia has nuclear bombs just like we got them. So Obama's hands was tied. He really couldn't do too much about that. So Russia took over the small little piece of Ukraine. And if you look at Texas, Texas have what you call the panhandle part, the little part that sticks up. Basically, if Texas would have broke off from the United States and the rest of the United States was to go in and invade that pointed piece that sticks out at the top of Texas, that's basically what Russia did to Ukraine. They went in and invaded a small part of Ukraine and took it over because it has a major import and export ports where ships can get in and out real easy. And Russia needed that for defense purposes. So now Russia was leading campaigns over the internet in Ukraine just like they did with us. They was basically practicing on how they was going to deal with the United States, turn the United States against each other using the internet. They practiced this on Ukraine years before they even tried it on America. So I got all this in the report. I got it right here, people. What I bring to you, I research it. I don't play no games with my show. I want this show to be successful. So everything I'm telling you, if you do a little bit of research, you will find out. And the reason why I'm bringing you this history, so you can understand that Donald Trump, he didn't just pop up out of nowhere. There's two things going on with Donald Trump. Number one, he's a Russian mobster stooge and a bigot. Number two, America already has a Republican Party that's been dipped in racism. So when these two people, the Republican Party and Donald Trump, came together, it was an explosion. So now you got the bigots who want to remain in power, and you have the Dixie Democrat Republicans who want to maintain the wealth of this country for white people, because they know that brown and black people are fast becoming the majority. So now you have a complex situation. They don't like Donald Trump. Never did like him, because he's not one of them. Donald Trump is damn near immigrant himself. His family history don't go back 300-400 years like some of these ex-slave masters or great grandsons. He's just a Johnny come lately racist. Okay, so they saw opportunity, but what's happening is they didn't want Russia to come along with this. Now it's becoming a problem, because they trying to have Donald Trump do the bidding of these bigots in America, but Donald Trump is really doing the bidding of the Russians. Okay, so you got to put all of this in context. That's why I gave you that history. That's why I gave you that history of what's going on with Russia. Russia broke apart. Not Russia, but the USSR. Okay, they broke apart. The Soviet Union broke apart, and all of those countries that was involved with Russia, the USSR, became their own countries. It's 15 of them. It's 15 of them. I'm gonna read them off to you. Armenia, Moldova, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Belarus, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Russia. These were 15 countries. Just like we have United States, they were 15 states that made up USSR, which was the Soviet Union. And they loved American politics and America so much that the people decided to break Russia apart and become their own governing bodies. Okay, now USSR was created by Vladimir Lenin. Okay, everybody's heard about the communists, and you got all these Republicans who are scared of the communists. But what they don't realize is Donald Trump is a communist. Listen what Vladimir Lenin said. This is one of his most famous quotes. He said, "A lie told often becomes the truth." I'm going to repeat that for all my people in the cheap seats. A lie told often enough becomes the truth. That sounds familiar. This is a playbook out of the communist people, the Communist Party. Vladimir Lenin was the person who started Russia and the USSR. He was the man behind forming the Soviet Union. The same Soviet Union that we Americans don't like, because we Americans are capitalists. We don't like communists. But we just elected a communist. Think about that now. This is one of this man's most famous quotes. And this is what he used to do to his people in Russia. He used to tell so many lies and make up so many things, because you got so many hicks out there, people who don't follow politics. They don't know nothing. They're in the know. You could tell them anything, but they think because it comes from their favorite politician that it's true. A lie told often enough becomes the truth. And this is what Donald Trump has been doing ever since he's been in office. He gets on Twitter, he gets on television, and he lies. And the people who are diehard bigots in this country, who don't like black and brown people, they eat it up. They eat this stuff up. And you can't tell them, and if you try to tell them something that's real, something that's the truth, they call you deep state, or you just a liberal, or trying to get Donald Trump. This man's a communist. So I had to give you that brief history before I get into my next segment, because he didn't, like I said, he didn't show up in a bubble, people. Donald Trump didn't just appear out of nowhere. The man has been working with Russian mobsters ever since his days of being involved with Las Vegas boxing. Okay? His grandfather, Frederica, from Germany, came to America as a pimp. The man went out to Seattle, Washington, and started a brothel. That's his grandfather. His father moved back to New York and became a real estate magnate and a Klansman. His father fought the police in New York as a Klansman. So Donald Trump didn't just show up in the bubble. The man has been a bigot, and he's been a liar and a tax cheat for a long time. And the Dixie Democrat Southern bigots, Republicans, they don't like him. But they see an opportunity in him to keep the wealth in this country for the Caucasian race in this country. So I'm finna go into my first commercial break, and when I come back, we're gonna go into further detail about this whole comic book presidency we got going on. Because like I said, I didn't want to do my show on this. I wanted to do it on the UAW, but we got to go deeper into this. And we'll be back.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
The Rod presents his very own Blue Jeans and Blazer Party, people. Blue Jeans and Blazer Party. Get ready, Nashville. November 9th, 2019 at 7 p.m. until. It's going to be held at Panobius, 903 Rivergate Parkway, Goodlettsville, Tennessee, 37072. Contact information is 615-440-1707 for tickets. Again, it's going to be held at Panobius, the Blue Jean and Blazers Party. Be there, be nowhere.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
All right, people, we're back with the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. All right, I'm going to do a quick recap on what I said in my first segment about the history of Russia, America, and Ukraine. I didn't go too deep because the history is deeper than the 5-10 minutes that I talked about it. I just basically gave you a brief synopsis on how Vladimir Lenin started the USSR, and he basically gathered a bunch of countries together that were small countries, like the United States has different states, and created the USSR. The USSR broke apart between the years of 91 to 96. They broke apart and became their own countries. And part of the reason they broke apart is because they loved the way America had so much freedoms and unity and capitalism. And they didn't like how Russia was being ran by oligarchs and people who basically forced their people into slave labor and things of that nature. It was a brutal country, people. USSR was brutal. And Even though we helped them in the World War between them and Germany, you know, they were never really allies. Okay, they were always communists and they were always bad people, but we tolerated them because Adolf Hitler was worse. Okay, so now I'm finna move ahead, because that brief history, when I told you about how Crimea was basically a country that was a part of Russia and the USSR, but they broke apart from them, and that's the equivalent of Texas breaking away from the United States, becoming its own country, and start doing business with Mexico. So Russia didn't like that. Russia didn't like the fact that Ukraine wanted to be more like America. Ukraine wanted to be more involved with NATO and Europe instead of dealing with Vladimir Putin and Russia. So they said, okay, since y'all want to mess around with America, we're going to invade Crimea, which is a small little spot in Ukraine that has a major import and export port, okay, that Russian ships can come in and out. So that's basically what they did. They invaded a little small part of Ukraine, and now we finna get to the meat and potatoes of the show, because I had to give you that brief history to let you know why Ukraine is so important. Okay, Ukraine right now is fighting a war against Russia. They're trying to keep Russia from invading more of their country. Okay, that's why Nancy Pelosi, who I call Batgirl, has filed these impeachment charges against Donald Trump, because y'all got to understand that we help these people, because we promised a long time ago when they broke away from Russia to help these people, and we were supposed to give them money to help them fight the war. Not just money, but bombs, missiles, and anti-tank missiles and things of that nature. So Nancy Pelosi and the Congress approved money and bombs and planes and tanks, anti-tank missiles, to go to that country to help them fight against Russia. So Obama helped these people as much as he could. Russia did not want, now we're finna get to the meat and potatoes of what's going on with Donald Trump. Russia didn't want the next president to be somebody like Obama, who was against them. Okay, so when Hillary ran against Donald Trump, they knew that if Hillary would have got in office, it would have been the same thing that was going on with Obama. Obama gave funds and missiles to Ukraine, and Hillary Clinton would have did the same thing. So now you got a situation where Russia knew that Donald Trump was basically a Russian mobster stooge, because there's not too much that Vladimir Putin don't know about what goes on with the millionaires and billionaires in his country. And if the millionaires and billionaires in his country is doing business with somebody like Donald Trump, you can believe that Vladimir Putin knows about it. So when he's seen an opportunity to place somebody in power that's going to be more in tune with what he wants to do, he took that opportunity and started implanting false information about Hillary Clinton, putting stuff on the internet that was going to rile up the bigotry in this country between whites and blacks, which is already at its cracking point anyway. He knows that. This man is an ex-spy. He was ex-KGB. That's why I always said on my show, this man is a very dangerous man. And we need to take this stuff serious. So now you got a situation where the United States President, Donald Trump, now I just gave you the history on these people. Donald Trump gets on the phone with this guy until after he done withheld funds that was approved by Congress to go to help these people fight Russia. Donald Trump gets on the phone with this guy and basically put the press on this guy to help him find dirt on Joe Biden. Now these people are over there in a real war fighting against Russia. They dying over there, people. 15,000 people alone done died in this war since 2014. So now you got Donald Trump trying to hold these people money back that's going to be aid to help them fight against Russia, aid that we promised them. That was a part of the agreement that they gave to give up their nuclear weapons, that America would always come to their aid. So now you got Russia done invaded part of their country, killing their people, took over one of their major imports, and Donald Trump is a stooge of Russia who's holding back their money unless this guy digs up dirt on Joe Biden and his son. This is serious, people. This is serious. This goes beyond the black and white issues that I talk about on my show. Because if Russia can send in a Russian stooge and put him in the White House, these people are dangerous. You know, we got issues in our country amongst each other already. But when you add the element of an outside country into the mix, that's a whole nother ball game within itself, people. You know, that's something dangerous that we got to set aside the whole black and white issues in this country and start recognizing that Russia is a serious threat to all of us. Every single one of us in this country, Russia is a threat. They actually put a stooge in the White House. Now I'm finna go over some of these. I got two things here. I got the whistleblower complaint, which I'm gonna go over in this segment, and then I got other charges. Some of this stuff I didn't even know nothing about. There's other charges that Donald Trump is facing that he can't go to court on right now because he's the president. There's over 12 or 13 things here that they should have been impeached him on. But when it comes to matters of national security, they taking this very seriously. But this stuff is serious too. So I'm finna get into the whistleblower complaint, because I've given you the history. I had to give you the brief rundown on why Ukraine is so important to this whole thing. I'm gonna give you 9 things we learned from the whistleblower complaint. All right. Now, number 1. In the course of my official duties, I have received information from multiple U.S. government officials. That means the guy that wrote this complaint has people inside the White House that work around Donald Trump every day, at least 12 of them, that are giving him information about the dirt that's going on in here. It's finally done. The dam done finally broke, people. He said the president of the United States is using the power of his office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 U.S. elections. That's the same thing he did in 2016 with Russia. But they couldn't really, they couldn't prove the ties. They got the smoking gun now because they got the phone call. But the whole Russia investigation, they couldn't prove. They really, the obstruction was more than what the actual charge was. That's why they didn't impeach him on it. But he obstructed justice even with the Russia scandal. Okay. Number two, the man admitted, I was not in direct witness of most of the events described. However, I found my colleagues, that's 12 people now that's around Donald Trump. I found my colleagues' accounts of these events to be credible because in almost all cases, multiple officials recounted fact patterns that were consistent with one another. In addition, a variety of information consistent with these private accounts have been reported publicly. This man has the inside scoop. I got it right here. This is the whole whistleblower complaint. I'm gonna go to number 3. He said, I was not the only non-White House official to receive a readout of the email. Based on my understanding, multiple State Department and intelligence community officials were also briefed on the contents of the call as outlined above. So this is troubling. And the reason why this is bad, because it proves what I've always been saying, that our government has a fear, not all of our government, especially the Republican side, have a fear of minorities in this country sharing in the wealth of this country. They want all of it to themselves. Now, that's not meaning that everybody's a bigot. That's not meaning that they're going to stop blacks from making money. What I'm saying is the majority of the wealth in this country, the yachts, the mansions, the majority of it. And we ain't talking about them football players. As long as you entertaining us, playing football and bojangling and dancing and being an IG model, they don't care about that. That's entertainment. I'm talking about Fortune 500 companies. You know, you're not finna see hundreds of thousands of blacks being Fortune 500 company owners. But you might see hundreds of thousands of blacks on the internet running a football or dribbling a basketball or some of that nature. They don't care about that. That's pennies. You know, they might get 2-3 million a year. That's a lot of money to some of us. But to them, that's pennies. You know, they don't care about that. So you always gonna have minorities in this country making that type of money. You know, entertaining us. You know, getting on a record and making a hit record that everybody can dance to and pop their ass to and make a couple of million. That's always gonna happen. But I'm talking about Microsoft type companies. They want to ensure that oil companies, automotive companies, you know, major stock market companies stay in the power of the white people. And this right here, this is what he's saying. He said, I was not the only non-White House official to receive a readout of the email. That means these people for a long time have been knowing that the bigot, the crazy bigot, racist stuff that's going on around this guy has been going on for a while. He just got fed up with it. His conscience couldn't keep letting him go on seeing all of this stuff go down. Everything I've been telling you is right. He couldn't go on no longer. You know, the man couldn't go on no longer. He had to tell it. Get to number 4. What they viewed as Mr. Giuliani. This is the Penguin now. Remember I said you got Batgirl is Nancy Pelosi. You got Donald Trump, the Joker, and you got crazy Rudy Guliani, who used to be America's mayor. Now he's just a oddball. All of his bigotry and racist done came out, and I'm gonna take you there real quick before I continue on with this. You have people out there who go through traumatic things, and it changes their whole outlook on life. Rudy Giuliani was the mayor of New York when the Twin Towers fell. And a lot of that hatred, I think, was built up from that. But it's hatred all the same. That's like a woman gets raped out here and she starts hating men, period. I'm talking about has a deep-seated hatred for men. I've seen that happen. So I really think that Rudy Giuliani has lost his mind. But he's the penguin. You know, this is a comic book presidency. It's crazy. It's a crazy town. It says what they viewed as Mr. Giuliani circumventing of national security decision-making processes to engage with Ukrainian officials and relay messages back and forth between Kiev, which is the capital of Ukraine, and the president. These officials also told me, this is number 5, during this same time frame, multiple U.S. officials told me that Ukrainian leadership was led to believe that a meeting or phone call between President Donald Trump and President Zelensky would depend on whether Zelensky showed willingness to play ball. This is mob talk. Y'all know what that means. You know, you got to give us dirt on Joe Biden, or we ain't gonna give you these missiles to protect your country from Russia. This is dangerous. This is dangerous, people. We playing with some mafia mob tied Russian mafia mob tied figure who thinks he can transfer the way he conducted business on the streets of New York into the White House. But see, the way he conducted business on the streets of New York with his mob ties only affects him and his family's fortune. When you dealing with countries that's fighting wars, you playing with people's lives. That's why this is a whole different ball game. That's why Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are taking this so serious. You got people over there dying, trying to fight against Russia. And Russia is the one pulling the strings behind all this. I'm going to continue on. On June, this is number 6, on June 13th, the president told ABC's George Stephanopoulos that he would accept damaging information on his political rivals from foreign governments. I remember watching that. He said it. The man, I'm going to read you again what Vladimir Lenin said. Now, he's a communist now. A lie told often enough becomes the truth. This is basically how Donald Trump has been living his life and running this whole country ever since he's been president. Lying and scheming. And the people out here, shame to say, have been eating this stuff up. It says this is number 7, in mid-July, I learned of a sudden change of policy with respect to U.S. assistance for Ukraine, which means the funds had got stopped. Number 8, according to multiple White House officials, these are the 12 people that spoke to him. The transcript of the president's call with President Zelensky was placed into a computer system managed directly by national security. That means these people knew this shit was illegal. They knew it. These people are some of the dumbest criminals I've ever seen in my life. You just got out of the Russian scandal and jumped right into Ukraine scandal. On the same day that the man leading the Russian investigation was testifying. You know, you got out of that. The Republicans covered for that. They got you out of that. Even though we know that you're a bigot, and we know that you got all these criminal activities going on, and we know that Russia helped you win, they got you out of that. And you turn right back around and make a phone call. But the guy can't be too bright, people. I'm gonna tell you why Donald Trump can't be too bright before I continue on. because you've been living a life of crime most of your life, and then you jump up and try to become the president, knowing that your life and your history is going to be an open book for everybody to see. Because people don't want to elect somebody that they can't find out who they are. So you basically been living the criminal life all your life, and your hatred for Obama made you decide you was going to jump up and become president, knowing good and well everybody and their mama is finna be in your business. You the dumbest criminal on the planet. I'm going to go on to number 9. Responsibilities of the Directorate for Intelligence Programs. According to White House officials I spoke with, this was not the first time. That means he got other calls that he don't want the public to see because it's so damaging. And he's probably making all kinds of personal deals that he ain't supposed to be making, all kinds of stuff. They hiding this stuff because they know it's illegal. The lawyers got a word for this. It's called an omission of guilt. Whenever you do something and try to cover it up, you know, you can't come back later on and say, well, I was just doing this because, no, you knew it was illegal. That's why you placed it in another separate server. I got to get into my next commercial break, people. And when I come back, I'm going to talk about some of the other... I'm going to have the sports call with Porter. And we're going to call Brother Porter up. And then I'm going to go into some of the other crimes and things that's going on around Donald Trump. And this is the Daily Read. We'll be back.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
The Rod presents his very own Blue Jeans and Blazer Party, people. Blue Jeans and Blazer Party. Get ready, Nashville. November 9th, 2019 at 7 p.m. until. It's going to be held at Panobi's, 903 Rivergate Parkway, Goodlettsville, Tennessee, 37072. Contact information is 615-440-1707 for tickets. Again, it's going to be held at Panobi's, the Blue Jean and Blazers Party. Be there, be nowhere.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
In fact, Trump is lashing out so wildly that yesterday he tried to take the rest of the White House down with him when out of nowhere he dragged Vice President Mike Pence into his mess.
I think you should ask for VP Pence's conversation because he had a couple of conversations also. I could save you a lot of time. They were all perfect. Nothing was mentioned of any import other than congratulations. But the word is that they're going to ask for the first phone conversation. You can have it anytime you need it. And also Mike Pence's conversations, which were, I think, one or two of them. They were perfect.
Damn, he's taking Mike Pence down with him.
All right, we're back, people. This is the Daily Read, and I'm your host, Marcus Gentry. I want to go over a quick recap of the first two segments of this show. Now, the first segment, I gave you a brief history. Not all of it, because the history is so deep, it'll take me... We can go into hours of talking about Russia, Ukraine, Europe, and how they broke apart. But I had to give you that brief history so you can see for yourself the connection that Ukraine has with America and everything that's going on with today in Donald Trump. See, like I said before, Ukraine was a state of USSR, which is Russia. And a lot of those 15 countries broke apart from Russia back in 91 through 96. Okay? So when those countries broke apart and became their own separate entities, that's the equivalent of Texas leaving America. Okay? So you got to understand that Russia, just put it in context like this. Imagine Russia being America, and Texas, which is Ukraine, broke away from America and start doing business with Mexico. That's basically what happened with Russia. Ukraine was a part of Russia and the USSR. They broke apart from Russia and started doing business with the United States. Okay? Russia didn't like that. So now if you move forward to today, Russia done implanted a stooge in the White House, basically. And they are trying to take Ukraine over. They're trying to move back into Ukraine. And Ukraine is fighting against Russia right now as I'm on air. People are dying in Ukraine right now. Okay? So America, who are allies with Ukraine, had government funds that were supposed to be sent to Ukraine to help them fight against Russia. Donald Trump put a freeze on these funds. Okay? And the reason why he put a freeze on these funds is because he wanted to dig up dirt on Joe Biden and his son in order for him to win the 2020 election. This is crazy town. This is why the man is getting impeached, people. Forget all about the lies that they're going to tell you on Fox News. Fox News is basically everything that they're doing is straight out the Communist Handbook. This is communism. And you got all of these people on the Republican side so busy trying to preserve the wealth of this country for white people that they're willing to do anything to make sure that that happens, even if that means involving Russia and communism. In communist countries, when a reporter comes and asks serious questions, they call it fake news. They kill them. They run them out of town. That's the same thing Donald Trump trying to do to America. Vladimir Lenin, in one of his most famous quotes, he said, "A lie told often enough becomes the truth." That's communism. That's straight out the Communism Handbook. The man is a communist. And people ain't understanding it and recognizing that. That's why Donald Trump is so dangerous. You know, people done got so wrapped up in their bigotry and their hatred for black and brown people that they're allowing the communists to move right into this country. This ain't capitalism. This is not America. This is not constitutional stuff. This is some stuff that Donald Trump has learned from Russia. And he's implementing it right here in the United States, right in front of our eyes. He put out the truth about this call and then turned around after he put the truth out about the call and said it's a bunch of lies, that the news is just trying to take him down. This is straight out the Communist Handbook. I'm finna see if I can call Brother Porter and get him on the daily read for the sports call.
Hello?
Hey, Brother Porter.
What's going on, brother?
Oh, I'm ready for the sports call. You are live with the daily read. Are you ready for me today?
I'm ready for you, bro.
Okay. What you got for my listeners?
Well, I just want to let you know that the masquerade ball was a magnificent function last night, bro.
Okay.
I had hospitality with them last night, man. Wish you would have made it, bro.
I seen some of the pictures.
Oh yeah, it was real nice. It was a beautiful event, man. Beautiful event. Well, you got the WNBA playoffs starting off today. You'll have the Connecticut Suns versus the Washington Mystics, game 1 tonight. It's gonna be pretty huge, okay?
Okay.
So I got my picks, of course, you know. Got the Texans gonna beat the Panthers, and got the Titans. Titans looking good today, man. I'm watching them right now. They got a lot going on out there on the field, just moving the ball. You know, he's and the defense is clicking on all cylinders, man. It's amazing to see these guys, you know, recover after a week loss.
Okay.
It's something they hadn't had, and they playing together. But let's see if they finish out the whole thing. I got the Ravens up in the front, the Chiefs up in the front. Then I got to give a special shout out to Tuck and Hardy, and I found out Brother Collins too. They were all some cowgirl fans. Right? the Saints getting ready to bust their bubble today. They ain't gonna have nothing going on. Dak don't play well inside of New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? That's his hometown. He can't go home. He can't go home and do nothing. It ain't gonna be nothing good for him. Then on top of that, Jerry Jones ain't even gave that man his money yet. They ain't even made a deal for this man yet, and he's supposed to be their star quarterback. He ain't gonna be playing on all time. He'll be thinking about them dollars, right?
What?
Yeah.
How
he ain't got no.
is he officially on the team?
He's officially on the team, but he ain't signed his new contract yet. They got him holding out, you know.
Yeah. So if you want to get into contract issues, I mean, if he might not be able to play then.
Well, if it gets down to it, you know, I think he got a couple more games though before they got to get that deal done though before it becomes an issue.
So he
right?
so he has a prior contract, but
he's got a prior contract that he's playing on right now, right?
okay. That's what I was concerned about, because I wouldn't be able to play because there's insurance and medical if something happened to him and something hasn't been contracted that he would have to be worried about.
Yeah, that's I don't think he's really worried about them kind of deals right there, right? You know, because that insurance deal, he's gonna be covered by that anyway, by the Players Association.
Okay.
So he'll be covered for that anyway. But as far as you know, he'd just be an unsigned agent right now. You know what I'm saying? So somebody else could offer him some more money, some more dollars, and get him away from there. You know, Jerry Jones don't treat him right. You know.
Right.
Right. So, but you know, they got big problems today, man. They in the NO, man. They in the NO. they can't win there, brother. That's gonna be a tough environment for them all the way around. It's gonna be real uncomfortable. You know, of course you got your favorite guy that we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, Antonio Brown. He's filed a grievances against the Raiders and against the Patriots. I don't even know why he even continued on pursuing this. This dude, you know, has ruined his own career.
Right. What is he? What is the grievance about? I mean, this is something personal.
Let me click on this other little shot I got for you. I listed some notable things that was on there. And, okay, so, his fine appeal is with the Raiders is $215,000. Okay? He's got a salary guarantee with the Raiders of $29 million, plus he's got a sign-on bonus of $1 million, right? And then he didn't get paid this week one salary, one paycheck of a game that he played with them for $860,000. That's a heck of a payroll for a sucker that ain't even trying to be on the team, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
So then he got on with New England, then he went on to New England. So he got a guaranteed salary of $1 million with them, right? But he had a $9 million sign-on bonus, right? Then he didn't get paid $64,000 for one game with the Patriots, right? And then he also got a deal that was pending for $20 million for next season with them. So he wants some of that money back, but I don't think he's gonna be able to get it.
You know what? And I have never. And you know what's crazy? I've never heard of his talent. I've heard of scandals, but is the guy even that good? You feel what I'm saying? I've heard the scandals about him. That's about the only, but I've never heard of
Hands, brother.
oh, he got some hands.
Yeah, he's got some hands. He's a long ball catcher.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know, he makes big plays down the field. That's what he's known for.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But he's one of them cocky dudes, man. He real cocky. You know.
Right.
You know. And then you got another guy, man. He played for my college team, Cam Newton.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Newton has lied to his team about the seriousness of his injury, right?
Okay.
He's gonna be sitting on the bench now because he wasn't truthful with his team about how bad he really was hurt. You know, and he kept on trying to play. Now he's gonna put his team in a predicament where he's gonna be missing more games. Okay.
Right.
You got Flacco, man. Flacco is not looking good, man. Oh, first time 0-4 start, man. First time in his career that he's gone that way, man. And it ain't looking good for him. I think he's gonna be out next season. You got the Yankees got some pitching issues, okay?
Okay.
You got a couple of guys that are gonna sit on the bench that they really need because the playoffs is about to start for baseball. Then you get down in the college world, man. This is what I want to understand. If you got a multi-billion-dollar industry in a college team that's bringing championships to you, and I'm talking about UConn, University of Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
How in the heck is you don't let the mosquitoes influence your game? I ain't understand how. I know they're getting plagued. It's like a plague for them guys right now up there in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Because they've had 7 deaths this past week just from mosquitoes, man. The mosquitoes got some poisoning up in there, so they having to reschedule all kind of stuff going on up there, this week. Okay?
Well, that goes back to the whole global warming thing, man. Mosquitoes die out during the fall and winter months, and the summers have been stretching on and on until the fall, to where it goes straight from basically summer to straight to winter. There's no fall months, and so it's a lot of other things that go along with that whole scenario.
That's right. So I give you my top 5 in college football as well.
Okay.
Huge right here, brother, because the SEC has got to be always going to be the most dominant in college football. So right now, Clemson got lucky that they number 1. They got lucky. They almost got beat yesterday on the last play of the game by a 2-point conversion with the North Carolina Tar Heels. If that man would have kicked the field goal, then it would have been it would be a tied game. They would have went to overtime, which I think the boys would have been strong enough to go on and beat Clemson. But,
right.
Effective coaching, he did a good job at it. So you got Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Ohio State. Them the top 5.
Them the top.
You got two more SEC teams, number 6 and number 7, which I got to go with my team, Auburn, that can possibly get in the top 5 here the next week.
Okay.
Boston, you got a good matchup right now for the welterweight. Errol Spence last night won a split decision over Sean Porter. No relation. He would have came out winner last night.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a good bout. It was a good fight. It went all the way and split decision, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
And then for all the people that's ready for them ball bouncers, okay? The ball bouncers is about to be in effect in 23 more days to the NBA kickoff.
Okay. Right.
Big news going on right now. And it don't look good because these two dudes ain't been able to play together. They was on the team together before and they didn't get along. So you got Westbrook and James Harden playing for the Houston Rockets this year. Boy, this thing is getting ready to get tough around the league, brother.
Wow.
It's getting ready to get tough. The days of having weak teams is over with. Everybody got a little stacked dick now, so it's going to be serious to see what's going to happen.
Right.
I just want to see if the two dudes can get along. If they can get along, they might be ready to play some basketball this year, and they can go deeper in the playoffs. So they got Harden. Harden's tough, man. He's real tough, you know?
Okay.
Westbrook is tough, but they ain't been able to get it done without each other, man.
Right.
So we got to see what's going to happen. They back together again. That's my sports call for today, brother.
Okay. I want to ask you. What you think about this whole the impeachment thing that's going on, man? Because Donald Trump has officially, Nancy. I call her Batgirl. Nancy Pelosi done came out Batgirl, and I call Donald Trump the Joker, and Rudy Giuliani the Penguin. We got a real comic book presidency going on with the Justice League and you know what I'm saying. So what you?
Hey, I tell you this much: they got a pair of cufflinks you came by waiting for them.
That's right.
Okay? They get ready to hook that dude up, man. He is a joker, man. You know what I mean? But the bad thing of it is how bad he has made America look, man.
That's
right.
You know
what I mean?
That's right.
He ran on the principles to make America great again, but he's made America look like garbage.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, we laughing stock. The people is laughing at us, and this is entertainment for people with our livelihood of our people. We looking like clowns around the world. I hope they go on and get them up out of there.
That's right.
But, it's a tough call to say if they're gonna be able to get him out right now. But I know soon as he step out of that office, I know it's going down for him. He gonna be over there with Madoff.
That's right. That's right. And I was just on my last segment. I was just looking at. I got a printout here of the whistleblower complaint, but I also got a printout here of 12 other allegations that he's facing that he really can't go to court for right now because he's the president. He has the Roger Stone trial, the hush money investigation with the porn star. He has millions of dollars in Trump inauguration funds that this money just done disappeared now. You got the pro-Trump super PAC has been donating money illegally to Manafort, illegally coordinated with the group. You got the Trump Organization insurance policies. He's cheating people on insurance. You got Trump Organization real estate deals. He's getting sued in the city of New York from the Trump Foundation. His taxes, he's probably a tax cheat. Oh man, the man has a damn near 15 legal actions. These are not all lawsuits now. These are criminal court cases that's just waiting on him when he steps out of that office.
That's right.
And
a lot of people are in his regime, I would call it. You already knew about all these things.
Yeah, they did.
In the world, you can get in bed with somebody and not know the extent of this dude that we are dealing with. He's got some issues there, man. He's going to where he deserves to be at.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? A lot of people in America don't like communism. They don't like communism. And they don't realize that Donald Trump is a Russian stooge. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna read you what Vladimir Lenin said. This is one of his famous quotes. He's the guy who invented the USSR, Russia. He said, a lie told often enough becomes the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he used to lead his people in Russia, in communist Russia. And that's exactly how Donald Trump is leading the Republican Party. Just lies. Every time he steps on stage somewhere. This is communism. You know?
And they sitting back, they sitting back letting them do what he do, you know, and because they didn't feel it was going to affect him. They just don't want the Democratic Party to be in, and they want to keep they ducks in the row or whatever they want to do with, you know, what you call corporate America.
That's right.
Corporate America is really ran by the Republican Party.
That's a
pharmaceutical company.
Right.
All them is all tied in. That's why they let this clown go. But he's embarrassing them.
That's right.
They're turning on him
That's right. That's right. And see, everything you just said, I repeated on one of my previous shows. I talked about the Dixie Democrats who are now the Republicans. Okay, not today's Democrats. Don't get it confused. A lot of people out here get it confused. But the Dixie racist Democrats of the South basically took over the Republican Party years ago.
That's right.
They're trying to keep the wealth of this country in the pockets of white people.
That's right.
You know, and they don't like Donald Trump because Donald Trump, his grandfather was an immigrant. He's damn near immigrant himself. So
that's right.
What they're doing is they're trying to use him. He's gonna be the fall guy. You know, he ultimately he's gonna be the fall guy when it all said and done. The Republicans are gonna walk away from this. They done put all these judges in place that believes like they believe. They done put all these policies in place, using him to put the policies in place, and then after they're done with him, they're gonna toss him out. They're gonna toss him out like trash because they don't want Russia. They don't want Russian involvement in none of this.
Well, the thing of it is, man, you know, I did a little bit of research too on Trump. You know, his grandfather, he was an immigrant, but he was a pimp.
Yeah, he was. He was his granddaddy was a pimp and his father was a Klansman.
That's right.
Yeah.
So he grew up with them values, man. He grew up with them values, and we knew this, man. We knew this, man, before. I don't know what happened to great voting days, man, but we just did not stand up against this guy, man. And it's done bit us, and we can overcome it. We can overcome it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've got to get this clown up out of there, man.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
I mean, they have. I don't think we'll ever see the Republican Party the way it is now ever again.
Well, you know, I think the Republican Party is on its last legs. I think there's going to be something else that comes after this because I just don't see the Republican Party advancing. It's going to be something else.
That's right.
You know, because Trump's kids, even if they lock Donald Trump up, his kids are going to carry on his legacy. And it's not necessarily going to be the Republican legacy. They're going to transform the Republican Party into something totally different, and it might even be called something different, you know. But I just can't see the Republicans after him lasting too much longer.
I've been doing a whole lot of research here this past couple of weeks, man. I got my new boss. He's kind of a historian, man.
Okay.
And just you know, some of the stuff that he's done put down on the map, man, about the blinding of the American people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Since day one, man. I mean, you know what I mean? And this is a continuation of a system that ain't worked, man. This is a continuation since day one, man. The people put the laws and orders in place, you know, that just line up for them, even though they totally awesome. I mean, totally against what the real deal is. Like for instance, you know, the 13th Amendment, right?
Mm-hmm.
13th Amendment was what abolished slavery, right?
That's right.
Okay, so they chose that as their American number for black folks as it is now. Because if you go on any type of census or whatever, the black folks only make up 13% of the population, right?
You talking about how they gerrymandering the electorate, how they're going in and making the maps so that I'm gonna do a show on that because I think the people in black districts need to understand that what they're doing is they're taking pieces of black districts and melding it in with white districts. That way it basically is breaking up the majority, you know.
That's right.
And that's how they're winning all of these elections. So I'm gonna have to do a show on that. But see, I was gonna do a show on the UAW because I met some of the people down in Columbia, Tennessee when I worked down there this week, and they're on strike. So I had to scrap that whole show to do a show on this impeachment, man, because the people needed to hear the history of what's going on with that, and because this is like breaking news, man. This is serious, you know.
Yeah, it is, bro.
But I'm on the tight time schedule. I'm about 5-10 minutes over my hourly time, and I appreciate your call, man. And we got to get at it again, man. Anytime Sunday around 12:45, I'm gonna try to give you a call. This is Brother Porter with the Sports Call, right here on the Daily Read with Marcus Gentry.
That's right. Who that?
All right, brother. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, brother Jesse. I'll see you later on, brother.
All right. Travel light.
Travel light, bro.
All right, people. This is the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry, and we will see you next Sunday. Thank you.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Business.